Hi, I've tried to make this video 8 times now, but I always stop it because I feel like I'm trying way too hard. This is my first YouTube video ever, so I'm obviously new at this and I don't really know what I'm doing and it feels really weird to be almost talking to myself. So anyway, I'm just gonna let loose and just try this again and not feel so uptight about it. Anyway. My name is Katarina. I'm 17 years old. I'm going to be 18 in December, on December 15th. And the reason I'm making this video, and the reason I've made this YouTube channel, is because I have a lot to talk about. I'm a huge chatterbox, and I can guarantee that all the videos I make are going to be ridiculously long because I just don't know how to stop talking. It's just the way it is. And you'll get to know me like that, and it'll be good. I am only 17, but I've lived through a lot, mostly personal stuff, I'd say. But yeah, one of those reasons that I made these social media accounts is because I am so passionate about and I really, really care about mental health. And again, I've lived through, a fair share of my own mental health struggles. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making a series of videos that are going to be talking about each mental health thing that I've overcome, I guess. So I'm going to be making a video on depression, which is going to be this video, anxiety, and eating disorders. So those are going to be 3 videos in the series of mental health, because those are the 3 that I've gone through. They are not by any means the only mental health problems out there, but those are the 3 that I've gone through and overcome. And so I feel like if I talk about it a little bit, then hopefully it can inspire somebody who's out there struggling, maybe. And also just feels good to talk about. I just like to talk, like I said, and I like to share my stories. So if you're not interested in hearing my stories, totally fine. I'm not offended. Just know that this YouTube channel is going to be a lot about me, I guess. So yeah. And just so you know, I will be posting a video, like an introduction to me kind of video, but the first video that I wanted to post was this because this is a huge topic for me, and just to kind of get out there a little bit, and just so it's not like a random, hi, I've never made a video before and you don't even know who I am, but I'm going to introduce myself anyway. I'm making a video that's on a topic that a lot of people, think about and talk about and know about, so. But I definitely will be posting an introduction to me because this is just not that video, but it'll be good. Okay, just a little quick fact. I am so freaking awkward in front of a camera. Okay, so now that my moment of extreme awkwardness is somewhat over, let's start talking about my depression. My depression started when I was in 5th grade, so about 7 years ago, and this video would be 3 hours long if I tried to go into every minuscule detail. I tried in the last, one of the last 8 videos that I recorded, I tried to go into every detail and it just was way too long and hard to follow. So basically, I'll start in high school because I'm in high school right now, I'm a senior. But I just want you to know that middle school and elementary school, basically I moved about only 20 minutes from where I live now, but it was a really, really hard move for me because I loved where I was living before. I had great friends. I had been there my whole life, and the transition was really difficult because I moved in 5th grade, and in 5th grade, everyone's had all of elementary school to get to know each other and solidify kind of a friend group and everything, so it was really hard for me to fit in. I just wasn't welcomed, and it was extremely obvious. It was made extremely obvious by everybody there that they did not want me there. So that was 5th grade, and then middle school, I was bullied. Real bad. 7th grade was just really badly bullied. I'll do separate videos on these years. Like I said, they'll just be way too long if I try to do them right now. So basically, starting in high school. 9th grade was not a terrible year, socially speaking, but that's when a lot of self-loathing kind of kicked in. And it was also kind of the year, I guess, that triggered my eating disorder. that I will talk about again in another video. I went on a medication for my skin because my skin was terrible. I had horrible, horrible acne, just really bad. I was majorly self-conscious about it. So I went on a medication to try to cure that, but while I was on that medication, I gained quite a bit of weight, and that was really difficult for me because I had never really had problems with my body image or my body in general, I guess. My mom is very petite, and I had always had her body type, and so I was always really comfortable in my skin and in my body. And then in freshman year, I gained about 20 pounds in about 3 months, and that was really hard. And so that's when it kind of kicked in. And that, like I said, that is what really triggered a lot of my eating disorder. But it, more than anything, really triggered a lot of depression. I would cry all the time. That was a huge thing for me. It was just crying. Like, yeah, just uncontrollable bouts of sobbing, and just like, that was just a huge part of my depression. So my depression stayed pretty consistent throughout freshman, sophomore, and junior year. But come sophomore year, my depression also started to include an eating disorder. And then come junior year, my depression and eating disorder started to come with anxiety. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit through sophomore year because that was pretty much the majority of my eating disorder and about half of junior year. But I'm going to focus on junior year because this is when things kind of started getting really bad in terms of my depression, and I was ultimately pulled from school. So I feel like this is kind of the year to focus on a little bit. The summer going into junior year, I entered a treatment program, honestly for a lot of stuff, for eating disorders, but also for depression. And I made it a goal to myself that I didn't want to get better. And that's when you know you're really sick, is when you want to be depressed and you want to have an eating disorder and you just want things to suck for you, basically, because you don't feel like you deserve better. Like, you feel like that's what you deserve, and you just feel like that's what life is going to be like forever for you, so there's no point in trying to get better. That's not true. The beginning of junior year was really difficult, September through November. A lot of it is specifically about eating disorders and anxiety, so I won't go too in-depth about it, but I was just the most depressed that I had ever been in my life. Borderline suicidal. I was very, 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 very depressed. Severe depression. And because nothing that I was doing, well, I wasn't really doing anything, but nothing that my family was doing and that my therapists were doing was really helping me feel better. It was obvious at that point. I was pulled from school, and I was out of school I was mentally out of school from, all of November onward until I came back to school. But I was physically pulled from school about the end of November until the end of January, so I missed the majority of the first semester. So yeah, that was, but honestly, I needed it. I was so depressed. It was debilitating. I cried all day, every day, without stopping. Like, I didn't know that my eyes could produce that many tears. I wasn't eating at all. I was eating close to nothing, and I thought that I was overeating, but I was barely eating. I started seeing a specialist who is my angel. I love her. She's helped me immensely, and I'm so grateful for her. November and December were pretty much the worst months of my life, I'd say. I was isolated because I was out of school, and even though it was good for me to be out of school, and even though I wanted to be out of school, I still felt isolated, and I didn't want to see anybody. Like, I didn't want to see friends or go out with my boyfriend at the time. and that was actually a huge thing for me, was I was dating somebody who I started dating in sophomore year, and I'm not dating him anymore, but he was so supportive throughout all of this. He knew everything that was going on, and all he wanted to do was be there for me. And I see that now. But what was difficult about it was that I was so into isolating myself, and I didn't want to see anybody, and I didn't want to be like intimate with anybody, and I just couldn't handle a relationship. And so we broke up in December, and he was understanding about it. But I found that while I really needed to just focus on getting myself better, it was really difficult because he was kind of my last connection to like the outside world a little. You know what I mean? Like my world was constantly depression, anxiety, eating disorder. And he would kind of break it up a little bit. And while I needed that, it was also really important for me to just focus on one thing at a time, because a huge part of my anxiety was just focusing on way too many things at once. So something that I started doing to cope with everything going on in my life was I started cutting myself. And it wasn't on my wrists because I knew that people check there. It was on my thighs because my legs have always been something that I've struggled with how they look. And because they're kind of muscular and like, you know, I've always wanted like the small legs, like the thigh gap and everything. First of all, let me just say I am so over that. But at the time it was something that I really wanted. And so I started hurting them. And I'm very sorry for that. I would argue with everybody. I would find the bad in every situation, which is so not like me. I would sleep in really late, which is also really not like me. I'm such a morning person. Sleep in very late. I was drinking quite a bit. I was smoking a lot. And yeah, I was making myself sicker than I already was. And then in January, I started my real recovery. Recovery from everything, not just from eating disorders and, you know, just everything. I started getting very serious about wanting to actually get better with my depression, my anxiety, of course my eating disorder also, but, you know, not anything exclusively. And I did. I started getting a lot better. I started feeling less depressed. It was still not easy. I mean, honestly, I hit rock bottom before I came back up. In the middle of January, I was the worst that I had ever been. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I was just drained. And at that point is when I decided that I wanted to change. And I know that a lot of people think that depression is a choice, but it's not depression that's a choice. Choosing to get better is a choice. And so I chose to get better because I was sick of feeling like shit. So I basically gave up all of my control, which is so hard for me to do because I am such a control freak. I gave up all of my control to my parents, to my doctor, my pediatrician, my therapist, my nutritionist at the time, my family therapist. I gave all the control up because I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't do it alone. You know, it was up to me, but I needed them to push me to do it. So they did, and since January, I've only been getting better. And for those of you wondering, yes, I am taking a medication for my depression, and I also was taking a medication for my anxiety, but I'm not taking that anymore because I found that the more that I recovered from my eating disorder, the less anxious I got. Funny how that works. Throughout my whole journey, something that really helped me immensely, and like I just said, I know I'm taking a medication, but something that honestly helped me even more than my prescribed medication was holistic medication, which is now what I am very interested in and what I actually want to go into myself one day. I was doing yoga and Reiki and meditating, and just the combination of these three things especially helped me more than I feel like any medication could have done for me. The reason why I feel like it's so important to try to go a holistic route instead of a medicinal route or a prescription route is because you really learn to depend on yourself. You just learn that it's up to you, not a medication. A medication does not make things 100% better. It just makes things easier to get better. Do you know what I mean? It's not the magic pill that is gonna make your life amazing. You have to choose to get there. The pill does not do that for you. That's why I think it's so important to focus on holistic medicine first. So you learn that you do have that inner strength to get there, to get you places that the pill cannot take you alone. And I'm going to make an entire series on all the holistic medicine that I believe in, that I'm so excited about. And I just, oh my gosh, I still to this day practice yoga, meditation, and Reiki. I want to learn about crystals, and I just love it. I find it just so interesting. And like acupuncture, I haven't even tried that, but I really want to. Oh gosh, just that's an entirely different video. Like, I'm so excited for this YouTube channel. Okay, and here I go. Rambling like I do best. It's been a year, and it's crazy how far you can come in a year if you let yourself. The biggest thing that I have taken away from my experience with depression is that you have to let yourself get better. It's hard because there's always going to be that part of you that almost doesn't want to, because you don't feel like you deserve it, or you feel like it's just too hard, or you just give up, or you say that you've tried everything and it doesn't work, therapy doesn't work, medication doesn't work. It's because you aren't letting yourself. It is so possible for you to get better. I promise you that. I was borderline suicidal, like I've said. But I really started to become suicidal when I started to get better, because, and that doesn't make sense, I know, but it's because I felt like things were changing and I didn't like it. It felt foreign to me, it felt uncomfortable, it didn't feel right, and it was entirely new territory, feeling happy again. I wasn't used to feeling happy, and I wasn't used to actually feeling like things were going to be okay. And I honestly started feeling like that for the first time since 4th grade. What I want to say to everybody out there who is struggling or suffering with depression, especially right now, because that's the focus of this video, I promise you it gets better if you let it get better. If you try, if you work towards getting better. It's not going to get better overnight. It takes months, years. It can take your whole life. You might still struggle with it for your whole life, but what does happen is that you find the tools, you work through it, and you find the tools that help you get through it, that help you get over it, and that help you in that moment where it hits you. And of course, you know, you're a human being, like you're gonna have your days where just nothing can make you feel better, and you're gonna just feel really blah and shitty all day. And again, that's normal, you're human. But what I'm talking about right now is like the chronic depression, like the, you know, debilitating depression, the depression that you feel like you could just die, that there's no point in even trying because it just doesn't matter and you just don't deserve it. But guess what? You do deserve it, and you will get through it. Trust me, take it from me, you will get through it. It just takes some work. My advice to you is to start meditation, because that more than anything helped me. It really helped me feel strong internally, not like muscular, you know, it's not a workout. It's a mental exercise, it's not a body exercise. It helped me feel able and connected to myself for the first time in years. That's a huge other thing, is that when you're really depressed, you don't feel connected to yourself, or at least I didn't. I felt like I was, you know, I felt like my soul was somewhere else and that I was just like an empty body. But meditation helped me get out of that. It helped me feel one with myself again and connected. And that is huge when you're going through and getting over your depression. You can feel like you have a purpose. Because, spoiler alert, you do have a purpose. So again, my advice to you is to, if you don't want to start yoga or Reiki, which I highly recommend also, the one that I recommend the most is meditation. That is such a personal practice that it really teaches you how to just love yourself and to just feel connected again. I'm going to end this video now because it's getting really long and I'm not even surprised because I talk a lot. What I wanted to get across was that I know what it feels like to be so depressed that you either just don't want to live anymore or that you feel like you're already dead in a way. It's not a good time, it's not a good feeling, but I promise you the first step in getting better is choosing to. And you all have the power to choose to get better. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was really awkward for me to make, but hopefully it'll get easier as the videos go on because I definitely will be uploading more. So if you want to see more videos from me, feel free to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. I will link it down below. Like I said, I'm pretty consistent, I like to think. I don't know, maybe. It's like the first few days of it, so everyone really tries the first few days of something and then after that they just get tired of it, but that's not what's gonna happen. And please feel free to share this video with anybody who you think might appreciate it if they're struggling or if they're just wanting to learn more about mental health, by all means. Okay, so thank you guys all for watching and I will see you next time.